The men and women who go through our parish RCIA are received into the church at the Easter Vigil. So it took place 3 weeks ago. But we don't stop RCIA at that point. It continues several weeks afterwards. So this past Tuesday, we were gathered again, and the topic was, okay, with all your enthusiasm and all your fervor for the faith, how do you keep going on that path of faith? How do you keep growing in your faith? And to answer those questions, I created a little panel, people that I call alumni, people who have gone through RCIA in the past, and they came back. And I noticed several of them are here right now. And they sat up in front, and they talked about their experiences. They talked about what kept them going, in what ways their faith continued to grow, that it didn't just reach RCIA and then coast. Beautiful insights. People asked questions. There was good discussion. That night when I went home, I was thinking about all the things that were said, and I discovered that there are two common threads that were given to us. If you want to keep your faith getting stronger, and if you want your faith to withstand challenges. And the two threads were these. Number one is you had to connect with other people of faith. And this was described in many ways. It could mean retreat. Certainly it meant Sunday Mass. It meant praying together, maybe as a family, maybe a Bible study group, a disciple group like we have in this parish. Many different types of groups, but it also included working on outreach with other people of faith, shoulder to shoulder with someone else. In other words, surrounding ourselves with other people who have the same value system. That was the one thread. The other one, which almost seems to be the opposite, but is equally as important, was to maintain a personal relationship with Jesus. And that this was connected through the sacraments for sure, scripture reading, personal, private prayer, devotions, meditation, all of the different techniques of spirituality that we have learned. I'd like to call this the plural and the personal approach. If we want our faith to grow, personal, but also plural. And as I said, these seem to be opposites, but they're not. They are two parts of a whole. But if you think about it, that is exactly what's presented in chapter 10 of John's Gospel when he talks about the Good Shepherd. It's really interesting. The fourth Sunday of Easter is always the Good Shepherd Sunday, and it's always from chapter 10 of John's Gospel, but it's not the same passage. We had the first 10 verses last year, and then the next 8, 9 verses today, and then next year we'll have some more verses. The three almost have to be looked at together. Take some time today, look at chapter 10 of John's Gospel. But what we hear is Jesus talks in the plural. He basically says, I am the shepherd, you plural, are the sheep. He doesn't talk about them individually. Oh yes, there are other points in the gospel where Jesus talks about the lost sheep, but that's not this passage. Here he talks about the flock as one, the unity. Now, if you tend to be a little bit of an individualist, and many of us are, this can be a challenge. But our faith is communal. We belong somewhere. We are connected. And it's not as simple as simply saying, well, I belong to a church, that's enough. It's more than just a membership. It's actually connecting as a community to be part of the flock, the plural. We need other people. Sometimes their faith is weak. They need the strength of ours. Sometimes our faith is weak. We need the strength of the others around us. We need the encouragement, the support. I'm not even sure that you can be a Christian totally by yourself. You can have the Christian principles, but it truly is communal. But let's not stop there. The personal is also just as important. There has to be a relationship. We don't want to just know about Jesus. We have to know Jesus. Big step, big difference. And the personal also means that we get familiar with him and what he stands for. And the way it's described in chapter 10 is, my sheep hear my voice and they know it. They recognize it. Have you ever noticed how many voices you recognize? Usually it's people that are important to you. Now, Michael and I have been doing the 23 podcast for 4 or 5 years. And amazingly enough, there are some people who listen. But a mother told me one day that she was listening to the podcast as she was doing some cleaning in her house. In fact, she was in the bathroom doing some cleaning. And so she had the volume turned up pretty high so that she could hear our podcast over her work. And it just happened her little son came walking by the door at that time and said, "Mom, what is Father Herb doing in our bathroom?" Let me assure you, I was not in their bathroom. My recorded voice was. But the amazing thing is that that child not only heard the voice, but recognized it. And he would not have recognized it had he not heard it before. And usually for most of us, we don't recognize a voice unless we've heard it a number of times. Would we recognize the voice of Jesus? Would we? How do we hear it? Is the relationship strong enough that when he calls us by name, we answer? It's not going to happen unless we immerse ourselves into this relationship, unless we spend time with him. The plural and the personal. We make the mistake sometimes when we confuse personal and private. The relationship with God is always personal, but it's not private. It's plural. It's communal. And so we're connected. So whether we are part of the RCIA or everybody else, we want our faith to continue to go down the path. We want our faith to continue to grow and grow stronger. Plural, personal, both of them matter.